prensa va a decir, el Senado se perdió por culpa de Mitch McConnell y sus rhinos, porque esa es la verdad. Aquí el culpable, si hay un republicano responsable de que el Senado hoy lo tengan los demócratas, se llama Mitch McConnell, no es Donald Trump.
Sí.
Esa es la realidad.
Sí. Pero la prensa no nos dice eso. La prensa nos tira unos mensajes nebulosos. No va realmente a decir la verdad tal y como es. Eso que tú estás diciendo, esa es la realidad. Incluyendo que en el Partido Demócrata los Gen Z salvaron esta elección por las promesas falsas de Biden, como el perdón de la deuda de préstamos estudiantiles, algo que él sabía que él no podía hacer, que realmente era ilegal. Nelson.
Eso fue una tomada de pelo catastrófica, porque ellos sabían, Joe Biden y los demócratas sabían que esa promesa no iba a llegar a ningún lado y que eso iba a ser derrotado en los tribunales, porque el presidente no tiene autoridad constitucional para hacer eso por orden ejecutiva. Así que eso fue una tomada de pelo que él le dio a los Gen Z y a los jóvenes.
Sí, para mover votos.
Mover votos. Correcto.
Es como han hecho en tantas ocasiones con el tema del aborto y codificar el aborto. Por ejemplo, cuando Hussein Obama estaba en el poder, él tuvo supermayoría y pudo haber tratado de codificar el aborto, ya que eso es algo que alegadamente, según los demócratas, es tan importante para ellos. Y han tenido muchas oportunidades y ahora tampoco van a hacer nada, porque si ellos resuelven los issues que son importantes para sus electores, pues entonces se quedan sin balas. Nelson.
Eso por supuesto, es lo mismo con el tema migratorio. Esa supermayoría que muy bien mencionas, que tuvo Obama, yo he hablado de ella en varias ocasiones sobre el tema migratorio. El Partido Demócrata siempre estaba prometiendo la reforma migratoria, ya no la prometen, pero antes de la presidencia de Obama, ellos prometían una reforma migratoria cuando estaba Bush en el poder. Llega Obama con su supermayoría, no aprobaron una reforma migratoria. O sea, porque les iba a pasar lo mismo que les está ocurriendo hoy, que están perdiendo el voto hispano.
Sí, eso es así. Pero con todo y eso, se esperaba una ola roja y hemos visto como el día de las elecciones, Election Day, que está descrito así hasta en la Constitución, se ha convertido en Election Month. Y vemos los malos manejos en lugares como Maricopa, por ejemplo. Y entonces ellos se preguntan por qué la gente ha perdido la fe en el proceso electoral.
Bueno, Jimmy, es que yo no culpo al ciudadano americano que se frustre, porque ¿cómo es posible que tú tienes el día de la elección, tienes la oportunidad también de votar de manera adelantada previo al día de la elección, y que el día de la elección no se sepa el resultado?
Sí.
Pero peor aún, ¿cómo es posible que 7, 8, hasta 10 días después de la elección todavía se estén contando y recibiendo votos? Es como si el día de la elección, es como si el proceso electoral durara semanas.
Sí, eso es así. Bueno, Nelson, veremos qué pasa con el anuncio, veremos qué sucede más adelante, si hay primarias, quién va a retar al titán de tirarse hoy. Interesante la situación. Nelson Albino, analista político, experto en política, estratega, republicano, conservador. ¿A qué organización tú perteneces, Nelson?
Bueno, tengo el honor y el privilegio de ser el director regional del Caribe de la Asamblea Republicana Hispana Nacional, que es la organización republicana más grande que agrupa a los conservadores hispanos en los Estados Unidos.
Bueno, y vamos pronto para el range. Eso es
así.
Sí, es un compromiso. Bueno, gracias, Nelson. Seguimos con más Hablando de Frente aquí en Americano Media y Radio Libre 790. En breve, pendiente que el Titán puede hacer el anuncio en cualquier momento, y teníamos a Luciana Navarro allí en vivo haciendo historia.
Continuaremos esta conversación después de una pausa. En un momento regresamos con Hablando de Frente por Radio Libre 790 AM. Buenos días, Americano, junto a Nelson Rubio y Gaby Peroso.
Vamos con nuestra gente a través de la línea telefónica.
Porque yo voté demócrata en las 2 últimas elecciones, pero voy a votar republicano de arriba a abajo, porque de verdad que me han decepcionado. Esto es terrible lo que estamos pasando, no lo habíamos pasado hacía años atrás.
Conéctate con nosotros de lunes a viernes desde las 7 a.m. Este, 6 Centro, 4 Pacífico por Americano.
En Americano destacamos tu lifestyle americano.
Carluca Suárez, te conocen como actor porque has hecho cine independiente, te conocen en otras facetas y de repente nadie sabe que realmente tienes un volcán de música.
Todo es el tiempo de Dios. Ahora es que estoy viniendo con estos temas. Ya la gente necesita algo nuevo, algo fresco, algo diferente.
Lifestyle en Americano, desde las 11 a.m. Este, 10 Centro, 8 Pacífico por Americano. Múltiples argumentos, distintos puntos de vista, peligrosamente juntas.
¿Dónde comienza la censura? Cuando tú tienes que tomar,
cuando es el derecho del otro, ¿no? Justamente.
Claro, pero cuando es opinión también, o porque una cosa es la opinión y otra cosa son los hechos. Entonces esa es la gran diferencia cuando uno hace contenido igual en un programa de radio.
De lunes a viernes, desde las 5 p.m. Este, 4 Centro, 2 Pacífico por Americano.
El mercado y más.
Gastando dinero, esto obviamente también fue una señal positiva para el mercado. Consumer spending durante el mes de septiembre subió el 0.6%. La gente aparentemente el consumidor sigue comprando automóviles, sigue viajando, aunque todos sabemos que los precios de la mercancía están subiendo dramáticamente, la inflación sigue muy fuerte, las tasas de interés siguen altísimas.
De lunes a viernes, desde las 4 p.m. Este, 3 Centro, 1 Pacífico, por Americano. Battleground Americano, con la voz conservadora de Jesús Márquez.
Los demócratas están apoderados, mire, de los medios de comunicación, de las grandes empresas, están apoderados de las redes sociales, de Hollywood, de las escuelas, de las universidades, de todo. Si no ponemos a una persona que luche, un luchón como DeSantis, como Donald Trump, de aquí en adelante nunca más vamos a tener a un republicano en la Casa Blanca.
Battleground Americano, de lunes a viernes, desde las 9 p.m. Este, 8 Centro, 6 Pacífico, por Americano. Las noticias se cuentan de muchas maneras. Acompaña a Freddy Silva a leer Entre Líneas.
Con estas declaraciones tan importantes de que nunca se testó la posibilidad de que si esto disminuía o no disminuía el contagio, ellos se quedan sin ningún argumento para forzar a ninguna vacunación nunca más en la vida. Esto es importantísimo que la gente lo sepa.
Entre Líneas. De lunes a viernes, desde las 2 p.m. Este, 1 Centro, 11 Pacífico, por Americano. Estamos de vuelta y seguimos hablando de frente por Americano.
I can tell you those primaries get very messy and very raw. We've experienced that before. So wouldn't it be nicer for him, and I think he knows this, to wait until 2028?
Se ponen messy, o sea, regadas, eso Messi como un reguero, ¿verdad? Se pone raw, o sea, cruda, esos debates y contiendas de primarias. Y muchas veces eso luego persigue a los candidatos luego cuando son electos, que ganan y obtienen las posiciones. Y bueno, veremos qué pasa. Lo vimos en diferentes contiendas, en diferentes primarias. Lo pudimos observar, la primaria aquella célebre donde el Titán se inició como político, que habían unos 17 candidatos, si no me falla la memoria. Y los ataques del Titán, algunos de ellos fueron fuertes, incluyendo a el mismo senador Marco Rubio, que decía que tenía las manos pequeñas, ¿te acuerdas? Y durante los debates de los demócratas fue así también. Cuando Kamala Harris, que hoy es vicepresidenta ausente, ella le hizo fuertes ataques a Biden. Lo tildó prácticamente de racista. Bueno, vamos a hablar un poco más sobre cuál es la posición de Ron DeSantis. La prensa tiene esta narrativa de una posible contienda, de una rivalidad. ¿Cuál es la posición ante la candidatura de Donald Trump, que parece que va a anunciar esta noche? Estamos en Hablando de Frente, Dani Alexandrino, yo soy Jimmy Nieves. Y para que nos comente. Vamos con nuestro invitado especial hoy, Frank Polo, empresario, ex candidato al Congreso por el Distrito 27, por el Partido Republicano. Buenas noches, Frank.
Muy buenas noches, ¿cómo están? Un saludo a todos y a la audiencia. Muchas gracias por tenerme acá con ustedes.
Bueno, Frank, ¿qué te parece que dirá Donald Trump esta noche?
Mira, yo estoy casi convencido, para no decir completamente convencido, de que sí va a correr, y creo que esta oportunidad de precisamente hoy, que ya vemos que tenemos una Unión Soviética que ha lanzado cohetes supuestamente sobre Ucrania, pero han caído en Polonia los restos, se habla, y ahora ellos dicen que no fueron ellos, pero bueno, claramente el mundo no respeta a esta administración, y yo creo que hoy va a ser un día muy, muy importante para él, y sobre todo por eso, porque tiene una base muy fuerte para decir, estamos frente a una administración que no respeta al mundo, y tenemos que cambiar esto, y es una de las cosas que van a pasar. Ahora, hay muchos comentarios sobre Ron DeSantis y si sale, si no sale. Creo que Donald Trump ha usado palabras un poco fuertes en contra de DeSantis. Sin embargo, yo creo que DeSantis es una persona bastante inteligente y él va a esperar un poco. No creo que se va a tirar en una contienda en este momento.
O sea, que no va a haber primaria. ¿Tú crees que DeSantis no se va a tirar? Eso
Bueno,
es lo que dijiste.
con DeSantis no. Puede ser que salga otro candidato que quiera, sobre
Mike
todo
Pence.
del lado de los rinos.
Mike Pence.
Pudiera ser, sí, pudiera ser. Porque acuérdate que los rinos, por supuesto, que siempre van a estar en contra de Donald Trump. Y tenemos esa ala que no sé si llamarle republicanos o cómo llamarle, pero son una mezcla de todo, incluyendo de comunistas. Que están dentro del Congreso de los Estados Unidos y que no les va a gustar, no les va a agradar para nada la candidatura de Donald Trump, porque sabe que el significado de Donald Trump, estar en el poder, quiere decir que va a haber una limpieza completa, sobre todo en lo que se refiere a la corrupción y a esta gente que ha estado en el poder. Correcto.
Sí, el pantano. ¿Qué te parece lo que está haciendo la prensa de descartar, de depreciar los logros del Partido Republicano, tanto en la pasada elección como en esta? Crecimiento entre los hispanos, entre votantes negros, entre mujeres, incluyendo mujeres casadas. Tenemos entre nuestros ahora oficiales electos, tenemos personas de todos los colores, de todas las razas, mujeres, cantidad de mujeres. ¿Qué te parece lo que está haciendo la prensa, que está tratando de simplemente depreciar los logros que ha tenido el Partido Republicano en esta elección?
Mira, eso no es sorprendente. Tenemos que estar bien claro que una de las cosas principales que siempre ha sido el target, la diana de los comunistas ha sido la prensa. Siempre han estado detrás de conquistar esos espacios de la prensa, para poder manipular las masas. Entonces eso es una de las cosas que ellos se anotan ahora como una gran victoria, y es sorprendente de la forma que lo están tratando de hacer, porque tratan de decir que fue una gran victoria. No fue precisamente el tsunami que muchos esperaban, pero sí fue una victoria bastante significativa, porque ahora tenemos la Cámara Baja, y eso creo que es importante hasta cierto punto. También me preocupa mucho tener una Cámara Baja donde sabemos muy bien que el partido está fraccionado. Tenemos un partido donde mucha gente hablan para un lado. Ahora mismo, y creo que es noticia hoy, que Kevin McCarthy lo nombró el partido como el candidato para ser el líder de la mayoría, en la Cámara Baja, y dentro del mismo partido no lo están aceptando. Y creo que es algo significativo, porque Kevin McCarthy es precisamente parte de este grupo se pudiera decir que está tratando de nadar entre las dos aguas, más hacia el lado de los Rhinos que hacia el lado de los republicanos que creemos de verdad en los valores republicanos. Y entonces eso es preocupante tener un partido que, aunque tengamos la mayoría, está un poco fraccionado, porque hay que recordar que dentro del mismo partido tuvimos personas que votaron por la comisión del 6 de enero y son los mismos que van a seguir haciendo daño, lamentablemente, porque hay una apatía también muy grande a salir a votar.
Pero dicho eso, salieron unos cuantos, como Liz Cheney, que se quedó sin trabajo.
Sí, correcto.
Así que eso son buenas noticias.
Gracias a Dios y a los poderes del Señor, pues tuvimos una victoria en unos cuantos de ellos que salieron y que lamentablemente ya como no tienen donde ir, se han destapado y han enseñado su cara real de que son más demócratas que republicanos. Y nada, sí, definitivamente tuvimos una victoria, no se puede decir que es una victoria aplastante, como se esperaba, pero es una victoria. Como quiera que sea, es una victoria. Una de las contiendas que me llamó mucho la atención fue la de Kari Lake, porque yo juraba que ella iba a ser la próxima gobernadora de Arizona. Lamentablemente, por razones un poco, no quiero decir que haya habido fraude, pero
¡un hack!
El
hack demócrata.
Como que nos da una sensación un poco extraña.
Sí, un presentimiento extraño. Bueno, McCarthy, yo concuerdo contigo, es parte del problema y la situación incómoda que tenemos es que este Congreso, que ahora la Cámara Baja la tienen los republicanos, era la pared roja para parar el malgasto, la locura de los demócratas. Y si tenemos a un McCarthy que él lo que quiere es complacer el establecimiento, es parte del pantano, en el liderazgo, pues tenemos un problemita ahí. Hablando de Kari Lake, también tenemos otro problema. Ahora, si Trump hace un anuncio que va para la presidencia, es cómo se están manejando las elecciones en todos estos lugares donde seguimos tropezando con la misma piedra y hay las mismas irregularidades, en donde no tenemos ya un día de elecciones, tenemos 2 semanas de elecciones, como lo anunció, lo predijo Biden hace unos días, hace unas semanas. Él lo dijo, que íbamos a estar 2 semanas en esto. ¿Qué te parece? ¿Cuál será el futuro del Partido Republicano ante estas realidades?
Mira, es muy preocupante no solamente esto que ha pasado en Arizona, que vuelves a hacer Arizona parte del problema en las elecciones. Lo más preocupante de todo es que tenemos un Nuevo México, un California y un Arizona, que los 3 tienen frontera con México. Y los 3 van a ser puntos abiertos para que siga el flujo de inmigrantes ilegales. Y todo el mundo, el que me conoce por algún tiempo sabe bien que yo no tengo nada en contra de la inmigración, tengo problemas con la inmigración ilegal, porque ahí es donde vienen los infiltrados cubanos, los infiltrados de Venezuela, Nicaragua, vienen las maras que vienen a trabajar, y eso lo sé por experiencia personal, vienen a trabajar para todos estos grupos subversivos que hay dentro de los Estados Unidos, que son los que crean problemas en las universidades y en diferentes lugares del país. Entonces, son los que acaban quemando cosas y haciendo atrocidades dentro de nuestro
Gracias,
país.
Frank. Nos traicionó el tiempo, gracias. Ha sido de verdad un placer hablar contigo y escuchar tus análisis aquí en Hablando de Frente, Dani Alexandrino. Yo soy Jimmy Nieves, vamos a un corte comercial, regresamos con más aquí en Americano Media y Radio Libre 790.
Continuaremos esta conversación después de una pausa. En un momento regresamos con Hablando de Frente por Radio Libre 790 AM. J&J Prime Time en Americano.
Estaba hablando con unas viejitas que no pueden retirarse porque su retiro lo han perdido. Una perdió $90,000, la otra perdió $70,000. Y yo le decía, bueno, si uno retira el dinero antes, ¿verdad? Tienes unas penalidades y unos impuestos.
Claro.
En este momento, como están las cosas, es mejor perder ese dinero de penalidades e impuestos y no perderlo todo. Hay que meter el dinero debajo del matre. Debajo del matre.
De lunes a viernes a las 7 p.m. Este, 6 Centro, 4 Pacífico.
En Americano destacamos tu lifestyle americano.
Carluca Suárez, te conocen como actor porque has hecho cine independiente, te conocen en otras facetas y de repente nadie sabe que realmente tienes un volcán de música.
Todo es el tiempo de Dios. Ahora es que estoy viniendo con estos temas. Ya la gente necesita algo nuevo, algo fresco, algo diferente.
Lifestyle en Americano, desde las 11 a.m. Este, 10 Centro, 8 Pacífico por Americano. Múltiples argumentos, distintos puntos de vista, peligrosamente juntas.
¿Dónde comienza la censura? Cuando tú tienes que
tomar, cuando es el derecho del otro, ¿no?
Claro, pero cuando es opinión también, o porque una cosa es la opinión y otra cosa son los hechos. Entonces esa es la gran diferencia cuando uno hace contenido igual en un programa de radio.
De lunes a viernes, desde las 5 p.m. Este, 4 Centro, 2 Pacífico por Americano.
Battleground Americano, con la voz conservadora de Jesús Márquez.
Los demócratas están apoderados, mire, de los medios de comunicación, de las grandes empresas, están apoderados de las redes sociales, de Hollywood, de las escuelas, de las universidades, de todo. Si no ponemos a una persona que luche, un luchón como DeSantis, como Donald Trump, de aquí en adelante nunca más vamos a tener a un republicano en la Casa Blanca.
Battleground Americano, de lunes a viernes desde las 9 p.m. Este, 8 Centro, 6 Pacífico, por Americano.
Llegó Nelson, así que es hora de despertarse y arrancar el día con las noticias de hoy por Americano.
Caballero, no logro entender esta gente a quién quieren convencer, porque además hablándome del medio ambiente o hablándome del aborto no me van a resolver el problema del pago. Como yo digo, aquí no le piden a la gente de qué partido tú eres para cobrarle más o menos en los mercados. Entonces, es absurdo el precio de las rentas, el precio de las hipotecas. Todo está mal en este país.
De lunes a viernes, 6 a.m. Este, 5 Centro, 3 Pacífico por Americano.
El mercado y más.
Gastando dinero, esto obviamente también fue una señal positiva para el mercado. Consumer spending durante el mes de septiembre subió el 0.6%. La gente aparentemente el consumidor sigue comprando automóviles, sigue viajando, aunque todos sabemos que los precios de la mercancía están subiendo dramáticamente, la inflación sigue muy fuerte, las tasas de interés siguen altísimas.
De lunes a viernes, desde las 4 p.m. Este, 3 Centro, 1 Pacífico, por Americano. Estamos de vuelta y seguimos hablando de frente por Americano.
Dani Alexandrino, hablando de frente. Mi nombre es Jimmy Nieves, conservador, ultramaga, desinformador. Hoy, pues, tratando de hacer este show. No va a quedar como el de Dania, no va a quedar así, pero se tienen que conformar con lo que hay. Hablando de cosas que estamos pendientes y nos interesan. En cualquier momento, el anuncio de el titán Donald Trump. Y allí está, en el lugar de los hechos, haciendo historia, Lucía Navarro, la misma que le hizo la entrevista exclusiva para Americano Media. Pueden verla, pueden entrar a nuestra aplicación de Americano Media, pueden descargar la aplicación, pueden mantenerse al tanto de todo lo que está pasando en nuestra nación. Lo que la prensa hegemónica, propagandista, corrupta, no te dice. La otra cara la tienes aquí en Americano Media. Estamos a través de Americano Media y Radio Libre 790, saludando a todos mis amigos allá en Miami. Y en este momento también puedo decir las líneas telefónicas para el que le interese llamar y hablar sobre todo lo que hemos hablado, que valga la redundancia, o comentar sobre el posible anuncio de el titán, o comentar sobre la rivalidad que la prensa está empujando. Esto le están sacando provecho. La rivalidad entre Ron DeSantis y Donald Trump, todo eso. Los teléfonos, anótalo. 305-482-6715. 6820 y el 305-482-6588. Otra situación que está sucediendo en este momento es que posiblemente, oye esto, unos rhinos, o sea, los rinos, esos son parte del establecimiento del pantano, republicanos. Ellos están negociando, hablando, dialogando con demócratas para que les ayuden a escoger un nuevo vocero, un nuevo líder de la mayoría de la Cámara Baja que acaban de ganar los republicanos. Eso es parte del problema. Dicen que están empujando a McCarthy, que quieren que él tome el mando, y sabemos de la pata que cojea, sabemos que es parte del establecimiento, que es parte del pantano. Y el problema que tenemos, mire mi hermano, el problema que tenemos es que esa Cámara Baja, por lo menos, esperábamos que fuera el gran muro de los republicanos para detener el malgasto, el derroche y la locura. La locura y sus agendas que nos están empujando por boca y nariz. Y de hecho, esta elección parece que ha sido interpretada por Biden como un mandato para continuar por el mismo camino fallido que nos tiene en la situación en la que estamos. Los Gen Z se tiraron a votar, salvaron a los demócratas y claro, en parte por las promesas falsas, las mentiras de Biden, prometiendo perdonar préstamos estudiantiles. Y eso es algo que se cae, como dice mi abuela, de la mata, porque el presidente no tiene la autoridad para eso. Biden se cree que es un monarca. Biden se cree que está al mando de Venezuela o qué sé yo, Cuba, cuando él arbitrariamente dice que va a perdonar préstamos estudiantiles cuando en el fondo él sabe que él no tiene el poder para eso. Incluso Nancy Pelosi en una entrevista dijo que el presidente no tiene poder para poder perdonar deudas, préstamos estudiantiles. No se refirió por nombre y apellido a Biden, pero lo dijo. Y esto sigue y va a los tribunales de nuevo, me imagino. Y Biden sabía que era toda una mentira. Pero así son manipuladores para obtener el voto de tontos útiles que se dejan llenar la cabeza de estas historias. Mientras tanto, pues, estamos en problemas si un McCarthy está al mando de esa Cámara Baja, porque él ha sido muy complaciente y muy aliado de sus adversarios, actuando en muchas ocasiones y votando en muchas ocasiones como un demócrata, apoyando cosas que van en contra de los principios de los conservadores, porque él se quiere pintar como un conservador, pero en muchas posturas actúa como parte del establecimiento y algo liberal. El establecimiento, de esos hay en el Partido Republicano, en el Partido Demócrata ni se diga. Y son parte del mismo combate. Son parte del mismo combate. No hay ninguna distinción. Para ellos, lo importante no es su partido ni la nación. Es defender sus intereses. Defender el poder, mantenerse en el poder, mantener a esa clase elitista en el poder. Por lo menos Les Cheney no va a estar por ahí dentro de las intrigas de los demócratas, participando activamente con ellos, como ha hecho, incluyendo la comisión ilegítima de Nancy Pelosi del 6 de enero. Que dicho sea de paso, ella escogió a todos los integrantes de ese comitadero. Requisitos: odiar a Trump. Odiar a Trump. Único requisito. Hoy estamos esperando el gran anuncio. Veremos qué es lo que dice Trump, si se va a tirar. Se estaba hablando de esto desde antes de las elecciones de medio tiempo. Algunos pensaban que no, que él iba a esperar hasta que acabaran las elecciones de medio tiempo. Era una movida estratégica. Y los políticos y las campañas son así, son estrategias. Estrategias en donde se pueden atrasar, adelantar fechas y en donde se pueden decir mentiras, como la mentira de Biden de perdonar préstamos estudiantiles. Por el momento, vemos la situación en Ucrania, producto de este presidente débil, flojo, senil, que muchas veces no sabe dónde está ni la hora que es, que se equivoca frecuentemente leyendo hasta un prompter.
Bueno, probando, ¿nos escuchan?
Leyendo hasta las instrucciones que le da el que escribe, las indicaciones del que le hace los discursos. Pausa, pausa. Y que ve al hombre invisible y lo saluda, que ve muertos y es manejado por el conejito de Pascua y le tiene ningún respeto. Ayer estaba en conversaciones con Xi Jinping, hablando, y eso fue durante el fin de semana, de veteranos, dicho sea de paso, de veteranos, en donde él no hizo ninguna declaración o discurso en honor a los veteranos que sirvieron a esta nación. Solamente envió un comunicado, porque esa vaina, ¿a quién le importa eso? Estaba reunido con Xi Jinping. Los chinos son su prioridad. De Pekín, Biden. Y allí él estaba hablando de temas importantes como el COVID-19. El COVID-19. Él estaba hablando de trabajar para erradicar la emergencia del COVID-19. Sí, porque todavía Biden dice que hay una emergencia y la extendió hasta abril. Hasta abril. Y además de decir que hay una emergencia por el COVID-19, habló con su homólogo chino sobre el cambio climático. Como si China, ellos cumplieran con las reglas que le imponen a los Estados Unidos por el Tratado de París, que él estaba pidiendo disculpas porque Trump nos había sacado de ese disparate globalista. Pero eso es lo que está sucediendo en este momento. Ahora, Biden pidió más dinero para combatir el COVID-19. 9,000, ¿cuántos millones de dólares? 9,000 millones de dólares y pico. No lo tengo aquí a la mano, pero algo así. Para Ucrania y para combatir el COVID-19 y seguir vacunando porque estamos en una emergencia hasta abril. Bueno, hasta aquí nos trajo el barco. Hablando de frente, bien pendiente que en cualquier momento Trump anuncia, parece que va a anunciar, viene con un mensaje. Lucía Navarro está allí en el lugar de los hechos, donde está la acción, haciendo historia. Será hasta mañana a las 8 de la noche, hablando de frente. Yo soy Jimmy Nieves, gracias. Bye.
Concluimos esta edición, pero regresaremos nuevamente, porque lo que otros callan, aquí lo analizamos, hablando de frente.
Llegó Nelson, así que es hora de despertarse y arrancar el día con las noticias de hoy por Americano.
Y de apoyar a cualquier candidato
pero
que
además
quería.
Que de ningún modo, comisionado, se justifica la violencia política, de ningún modo
No,
se
claro que
justifica
no.
que golpeen, y nadie es dueño de las calles. Uno sí es dueño de una propiedad privada, pero en la calle venir y decir uno, no, porque yo no quiero que por aquí pasen los republicanos, eso nada más en la dictadura castrista en Venezuela o en Nicaragua.
De lunes a viernes, 6 a.m. Este, 5 Centro, 3 Pacífico por Americano. En Americano destacamos tu lifestyle americano.
Ella es una cantautora muy joven, Joaquina Blavia.
Bueno, Freno es un tema que escribí con mi productor. Toda la canción es como tengo un pie en el acelerador y el otro en el freno, y es querer correr de tus sentimientos y no poder hacerlo y por fin aceptarlo. De eso se trata esta canción.
Lifestyle en Americano, desde las 11 a.m. Este, 10 Centro, 8 Pacífico, por Americano.
J&J Prime Time en Americano.
La mano dura de Trump, que iba a invadir Venezuela militarmente, que la opción estable, todas las cosas las sanciones, todo bien.
Bueno, pero hubo un levantamiento del pueblo. Se supone pues que el pueblo iniciara todo esto y el mundo estaba mirando eso. Con Guaidó, claro, que estaba allí, que pasó nada porque Guaidó es otro socialista. Lo que pasa es que es más like que Maduro.
José Aristimuño y Jimmy Nieves, de lunes a viernes a las 7 p.m. Este, 6 Centro, 4 Pacífico. El mercado y más.
Gastando dinero, esto obviamente también fue una señal positiva para el mercado. Consumer spending durante el mes de septiembre subió el 0.6%. La gente aparentemente el consumidor sigue comprando automóviles, sigue viajando, aunque todos sabemos que los precios de la mercancía están subiendo dramáticamente, la inflación sigue muy fuerte, las tasas de interés siguen altísimas.
De lunes a viernes, desde las 4 p.m. Este, 3 Centro, 1 Pacífico, por Americano.
Múltiples argumentos, distintos puntos de vista, peligrosamente juntas.
¿Dónde comienza la censura? Cuando tú tienes que tomar,
cuando es el derecho del otro, ¿no?
Claro, pero cuando es opinión también, porque una cosa es la opinión y otra cosa son los hechos. Entonces esa es la gran diferencia cuando uno hace contenido igual en un programa de radio.
De lunes a viernes, desde las 5 p.m. Este, 4 Centro, 2 Pacífico, por Americano.
Battleground Americano, con la voz conservadora de Jesús Márquez.
Los demócratas están apoderados, de los medios de comunicación, de las grandes empresas, están apoderados de las redes sociales, de Hollywood, de las escuelas, de las universidades, de todo. Si no ponemos a una persona que luche, un luchón como DeSantis, como Donald Trump, de aquí en adelante nunca más vamos a tener a un republicano en la Casa Blanca.
Battleground Americano, de lunes a viernes, desde las 9 p.m. Este, 8 Centro, 6 Pacífico, por Americano.
Llegó Nelson por Americano.
Y después que ya pasaron las elecciones de medio término, parece más que evidente que la maquinaria mediática y cultural demócrata, llámese artistas, periodistas, periódicos, medios, la han echado a andar, pero de manera acelerada.
Nelson, un espacio abierto de Americano para analizar la información más importante del día de forma directa e irreverente. De lunes a viernes, 6 a.m. Este, 5 Centro, 3 Pacífico, por Americano. Estilos de vida hay muchos y cada uno es interesante. Lifestyle en Americano.
Luis Vicente Palomino, conocido en todas partes como Luis Baboom, doble campeón invicto de la disciplina deportiva llamada boxeo sin guantes.
El primer amor mío fue el boxeo, el boxeo con guantes, boxeo tradicional. Y el boxeo sin guantes, cuando surgió, se hizo famoso de la nada. Es un evento de peleas de experiencia.
De lunes a viernes, desde las 11 a.m. Este, 10 Centro, 8 Pacífico, por Americano.
Esto es Radio Libre 790 AM WAXY-AM, cubriendo Miami, Fort Lauderdale y Palm Beach. En Estados Unidos se libra una batalla de valores y principios. Battleground Americano, con la voz conservadora de Jesús Márquez. Comenzamos.
Muy buenas tardes, los saluda su amigo Jesús Márquez. Esto es Battleground Americano. El día de hoy tenemos una programación especial porque nuestra compañera Lucía Navarro está en este momento en el lugar en donde Donald Trump, el presidente número 45, va a estar anunciando si es que él va a correr para ser posiblemente el presidente número 47. Así es. Ese es el tema que tenemos el día de hoy, el gran anuncio, el anuncio tan esperado que hemos tenido. Todos los medios de comunicación prácticamente están hoy a la espera de si el presidente Donald Trump va a dar ese anuncio, de si va a correr o no. Es lo más seguro. Vamos a ver qué pasa, qué dice, y para eso va a estar ahí también nuestra compañera Lucía Navarro. de actualidades. Yo voy a estar aquí desde cabina hablando las próximas 2 horas porque voy a estar cubriendo el programa de Battleground Americano. También voy a estar cubriendo el programa de Lucía Navarro, el programa de actualidades. Y intermediamente vamos a estar escuchando el discurso del presidente Donald Trump. En cuanto eso pase, en cuanto él esté hablando, empiece a hablar y a potencialmente decir su anuncio de si va a correr o no, entonces vamos a pasarnos directamente allá. Vamos directamente en este momento con el presidente Donald Trump. Está en stage. Bueno, ya está ahí en stage el presidente Donald Trump con su esposa. En este momento ha salido rápidamente, dijo que a las 9 de la noche y bueno, ya es muy puntual el presidente Donald Trump en este momento saliendo a stage. Vamos a esperar en cuanto él empiece a hablar, a dar su discurso, entonces vamos a pasar directamente y en vivo a Mar-a-Lago, donde va a estar él hablando, diciendo el discurso de lo que va a hacer. Y es un momento muy esperado, mi gente. Estamos en ascuas, estamos tratando de descifrar qué primero que nada, qué pasó en estas elecciones que acaban de pasar. ¿Por qué no fue esa oleada tan grande que esperaban los republicanos? Aunque también la otra noticia del día de hoy es que se logró el control de la Cámara de Representantes. Ojo. La Cámara de Representantes ha pasado a control republicano el día de hoy, hace apenas 1 hora. Vamos en este momento con el presidente Donald Trump, que comienza su discurso. Está saludando en este momento el presidente Donald Trump. Pero es como hace su entrada el presidente Donald Trump y con mucha gente siempre esperándolo, recibiéndolo. Mucha gente lo ama, lo quiere. En este momento se escuchan ya los aplausos, el recibimiento muy caluroso de el público que quiere a el presidente Donald Trump. Ahí está.
On behalf of Melania and myself and our entire family, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very special occasion at a very special place. You and all of those watching, you and all of those watching, and soul of this incredible movement, country, greatest history, country of the world, history, very simple, the world, very simple. There has never been anything like it. Well, thank you very much, and on behalf of Melania, myself, and our entire family, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very special occasion at a very special place. You and all of those watching are the heart and soul of this incredible movement and greatest country in the history of the world. It's very simple. There has never been anything like it. This great movement of ours, never been anything like it, and perhaps there will never be anything like it again. There's never been anything to compete with what we have all done. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now. When I left office, the United States stood ready for its golden age. Our nation was at the pinnacle of power, prosperity, and prestige. We turned the page on decades of one-sided sellouts and one-sided millions out of poverty, and together millions out of poverty, and together we built the greatest economy of the world. In the history of the world, when the virus hit our shores, I took decisive action. Everybody was thriving like never before. There was never a time like this. We turned the page on decades of globalist sellouts and one-sided trade deals, lifted millions out of poverty, and together we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. When the virus hit our shores, I took decisive action and saved lives and the U.S. economy. And by October of the same year, America was roaring back with the #1 fastest economic recovery ever recorded. How about that? All of the incoming administration and all they had to do was just sit back and watch. Inflation was non-existent. Our southern border was by far the strongest ever. And because the border was so tight, drugs were coming into our country at the lowest level in many, many years. Importantly, after decades of rising energy costs, the United States had finally attained the impossible dream of American energy independence, which soon would have turned into energy dominance. China, and we were getting hundreds of billions of dollars. Many people think that because of this, China played a very active role in the 2020 election. Just saying. Sure, that didn't happen. Instead of jobs and factories leaving America for the first time ever leaving China for America. Businesses were pouring back because of our historic tax and regulation cuts, the biggest in both categories, bigger even than what Ronald Reagan was able to produce, and he produced China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea were in check. They respected the United States, and quite honestly, they respected me. I knew them well. The vicious ISIS caliphate, which no president was able to conquer, was decimated by me and our great warriors in less than 3 weeks. And al-Baghdadi, its founder, was hunted down and killed. North Korea had not launched a single long-range missile since my summit with Chairman nearly 3 years before we developed the relationship, and that's a good thing, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's a good, very good thing, actually. Very good. Look at what's happening today. Look at what's happening. My opponents made me out to be a warmonger, and just a terrible person who would immediately go into war. They said during the 2016 campaign, since my summit with Chairman Kim Jong-un nearly 3 years before, we developed a relationship, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Very good thing, actually, because look at what's happening today. My opponents made me out to be a warmonger and just a terrible person who would immediately go into war. They said during the 2016 campaign that if he becomes president, there will never be a war within weeks, and we will have wars like you've never seen before. It will happen immediately, and yet I've gone decades without a war, the first president to do it for that long a period. The world was at peace. America was prospering, and our country was on track for an amazing future because I made big promises to the American people, and unlike other presidents, I kept my promises. I kept them. Thank you very much. Under our leadership, we were a great and glorious nation, something you haven't heard for quite a long period of time. We were a strong nation, and importantly, we were a free nation. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. For millions of Americans, the past 2 years under Joe Biden have been a time of pain, hardship, anxiety, and despair. As we speak, inflation is the highest in over 50 years. Gas prices have reached the highest levels in history and expect them to go much higher now that the strategic national reserves, which I filled up, have been virtually drained in order to keep gasoline prices lower just prior to the election. Joe Biden has intentionally surrendered our energy independence. There is no longer even a thought of dominance, and we are now begging for energy help from foreign nations, many of whom find us detestable. Our southern border has been erased, and our country is being invaded by millions and millions of unknown people, many of whom are entering for a very bad and sinister reason. And you know what that reason is. We will be paying a big price for this invasion into our country for years to come. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of deadly drugs, including very lethal fentanyl, are flooding across the now open and totally porous southern border. The blood-soaked streets of our once great cities are cesspools of violent crimes, which are being watched all over the world as leadership of other countries explain that this is what America and democracy is really all about. How sad. The United States has been embarrassed, humiliated, and weakened for all to see. The disasters in Afghanistan, perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, where we lost lives, left Americans behind, and surrendered $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world. And Ukraine, which would have never happened if I were your president, are something and even the Democrats admit that. That's something I've seen them admit over and over again. But our enemies are speaking of us with scorn and laughter and derision because of those two events. But there are many more. Even just today, a missile was sent in, probably by Russia, to Poland, 50 miles into Poland, and people are going absolutely wild and crazy, and they're not happy. They're very, very angry. Now we have a president who falls asleep at global conferences, was held in contempt by the British Parliament over Afghanistan. Thanks to the words of wisdom, he said thank you to the wrong country for inviting him to a major summit on the environment of all things. They fly for days to get there, and then he calls the country a name that was actually a country on another continent. And he's leading us to the brink of nuclear war, a concept unimaginable just 2 short years ago. You cannot mention the nuclear word. It's too devastating. The Green New Deal and the environment, which they say may affect us in 300 years, is all that is talked about. And yet nuclear weapons, which would destroy the world immediately, are never even discussed as a major threat. Can you imagine? They say the ocean will rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 200 to 300 years. But don't worry about nuclear weapons that can take out entire countries with one shot. Something is wrong with their thinking. Under Biden and the radical Democrats, America has been mocked, derided, and brought to its knees, perhaps like never before. But we are here tonight to declare that it does not have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. Two years ago, we were a great nation, and soon we will be a great nation again. The decline of America is being forced upon us by Biden and the radical left lunatics running our government right into the ground. This decline is not a fate we must accept. When given the choice, boldly, clearly, and directly, I believe the American people will overwhelmingly reject the left's platform of national ruin, and they will embrace our platform of national greatness and glory to America. Glory. Exactly 1 week ago, our citizens voted in the important midterm elections, and despite a ridiculously long and unnecessary period of waiting, far longer, in fact, than any third world country, just a short time ago, the Republicans won back control of the House of Representatives. And it was with a great Trump-endorsed candidate, Congressman-elect Kevin Kiley, who is a fantastic person, And I'm very happy it was his vote that did it. But we now won back. This happened just an hour ago. Much criticism is being placed on the fact that the Republican Party should have done better. And frankly, much of this blame is correct. But the citizens of our country have not yet realized the full extent and gravity of the pain our nation is going through. And the total effect of the suffering is just starting to take hold. They don't quite feel it yet, but they will very soon. I have no doubt that by 2024, it will sadly be much worse, and they will see much more clearly what happened and what is happening to our country, and the voting will be much different. 2024. Are you getting ready? And I am too. I do want to point out that in the midterms, my endorsement success rate was 232 wins and only 22 losses. You don't hear that from the media. And this is an elegant night and an elegant place, and I'm not going to use the term fake news media. So we're going to keep it very elegant. But you don't hear that from the media, but I think you will, because people are starting to see what happened. That's some score, and in the primaries was 98.6%, but they were still trying to blame me. And the reason for the success and that unprecedented success rate is that the Trump administration changed our nation on trade, on securing the border. We're the strongest, safest border ever in the history of our country. On Islamic terrorism, we had practically, just about, not that I can think of, no Islamic attacks, terrorist attacks during the Trump administration. And in fact, we got along very well with the various countries, including coming up with the Abraham Accords. That's a great thing, the Abraham Accords. But it's because of cutting taxes and cutting regulations at the highest level ever, and on building the greatest economy. Any time in the history of the world, there's never been an economy like we had just 2 years ago. Despite the outcome in the Senate, we cannot lose hope, and we must all work very hard for a gentleman and a great person named Herschel Walker, a fabulous human being who loves our country and will be a great United States Senator. Herschel Walker, get out and vote for Herschel, and he deserves it. He was an incredible athlete. He'll be an even better senator. Get out and vote for Herschel Walker. We elected a group of incredibly talented America First leaders who will be stars of our party for many years to come. In the popular vote, another thing that's not discussed for the House, we must remember that Republicans won 5 million more votes, the largest margin in many, many years, over the Democrats. 5 million more votes, that's a big thing. Breaking the radical Democrats' grip on Congress was crucial. So in other words, because of our great congressmen and all of our great congressmen and congresswomen, we have taken over Congress. Nancy Pelosi has been fired. Isn't that nice? Okay. I told them, I said, if you just keep a little bit lower standard, you're going to have a big victory. They said, let's win by 40 seats. Let's win by 50. I said, if you win by 2 seats, be happy. But she's on her way to another country right now. She's been fired. But we always have known that this was not the end. It was only the beginning of our fight to rescue the American dream. And it's a word you don't use, 2 words. I don't want to be Joe. It's 2 words, American dream. That was not good what he did. There are a lot of bad things, like going to Idaho and saying, welcome to the state of Florida. I really love it. In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. Thank you, kids. Thank you. All of you. Thank you. Thank you. So many incredible friends and family here tonight. It's such a beautiful thing. Some people say, how do you speak before so many people all the time? When there's love in the room, it's really easy, if you want to know the truth. It really is. You ought to try it sometime. Together we will be taking on the most corrupt forces and entrenched interests imaginable. Our country is in a horrible state. We're in grave trouble. This is not a task for a politician or a conventional candidate. This is a task for a great movement that embodies the courage, confidence, and the spirit of the American people. This is a movement. This is not for any one individual. This is a job for tens of millions of proud people working together from all across the land and from all walks of life, young and old, black and white, Hispanic and Asian, many of whom we have brought together for the very, very first time. If you look at the numbers, if you look at what's happened with Hispanic, with African American, with Asian, and just look at what's happening. This is a party that has become much bigger, much stronger, much more powerful, can do much more good for our country. This is a job for grandmothers and construction workers, firefighters, builders, teachers, doctors, and farmers who cannot stay quiet any longer. You can't stay quiet any longer. You're angry about what's happening to our country. Our country is being destroyed before your very eyes. It's a job for every aspiring young person and every hard-working parent, for every entrepreneur and underappreciated police officer who is ready to shout for safety in America. The police are being treated so badly. These are great people. They can straighten out the crime. They're the ones that know how to do it. We have to give them back their respect and their dignity. This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign all together. Because the only force strong enough to defeat the massive corruption we are up against is you, the American people. It's true. The American people, the greatest people on earth, we love them all. And we love both sides. We're going to bring people together. We're going to unify people. And it was happening in the previous administration, previous to the previous. And what was bringing them together was success. Prior to COVID coming in, the people were calling me, you wouldn't believe it. People that were so far left, I figured they'd never speak to me and I would never speak to them. But our success was so incredible, like never before. And then COVID started coming in from China. We call it the China virus. Some people call it other things, but it was devastating and we built it back and did an incredible job. But when people say, Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives. I say we can all get together. And we were doing that. That was happening just prior because the success was greater than this country has ever had. We were leapfrogging China and leapfrogging everybody else, and everybody wanted a piece of it. But just as I promised in 2016, I am your voice. I am your voice. The Washington establishment wants to silence us, but we will not let them do that. What we have built together over the past 6 years is the greatest movement in history because it is not about politics. It's about our love for this great country, America, and we're not going to let it fail. I am running because I believe the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. We have not reached that pinnacle, believe it or not. In fact, we can go very far. We're going to have to go far. First, we have to get out of this ditch. And once we're out, you'll see things that nobody imagined for any country. It's called the United States of America, and it's an incredible place. We are Americans, and we do not have to endure what has taken place in Washington, D.C. This is our country, our government, and the corridors of power, they're our corridors. They're not their corridors. These are our corridors. And we are coming to take those corridors back. So from now until Election Day in 2024, which will come very quickly, we'll go, look at how time flies, look how fast it's all going. I will fight like no one has ever fought before. We will defeat the radical left Democrats that are trying to destroy our country from within, and likewise protect us all. We want to protect us. We have to be protected from all of those nations out there that are looking to destroy us from beyond our shores. There are lots of nations that hate us gravely. And that's the problem when they look at us in disarray like we are right now, when we go to them begging for oil and we have more liquid gold under our feet than they have or any other nation has, and we don't use it because we're going to them. It's crazy what's happening. We can't let it continue. Joe Biden is the face of left-wing failure and Washington corruption. He had a big G20 dinner tonight. Everybody flew over to wherever they flew over, and guess what? He never showed up. They're still looking for him. What's going on? G20, I used to love that, the leaders. I used to make deals for our country like you wouldn't believe. It was one, give me the next one, give me the next one. And we got them to stop taking advantage of our country. Every nation took advantage of our country. We renegotiated deals with Mexico and Canada, USMCA. We got rid of the worst trade deal ever made. NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made. That's why the farmers love Trump, because we did a great job, but manufacturers also. And we did a deal, we restructured our terrible deal with Japan, and I did it with Prime Minister Abe, a great man who unfortunately is so sad. He was a great friend of mine, but a great man, loved his country so much, but we restructured and made it a really terrific deal, and with South Korea and so many other countries. And the best of all was what we did to China. We made an incredible deal, but after COVID, I don't even bother talking about it because the devastation that caused for the entire world was too much to bear. I will ensure that Joe Biden does not receive 4 more years in 2020. Can't do it. Our country could not take that. And I say that not in laughter. I say that in tears. Our country could not take 4 more years. It can only take so much. It's all very fragile to start off with. It can only take so much. In 2020, I received the largest number of votes of any sitting president in history by a lot. And we will do it again, but with even more votes this time. Many have noted that huge gains we have made with Latino voters, and I believe we will set even greater records with this crucial vote in 2024. The Hispanic voter, the Latino voter has been unbelievable. Great people, very entrepreneurial people, and they want security. And everyone thought when I did the wall, I built the wall, and they thought, oh, that would hurt me with the Hispanic vote. No, it helped me because they understood. They wanted safety. They wanted security. And they understood the border better than anybody else. So they were amazed. We started that trend, and now we're continuing with that trend. You look at what we've done in Florida, what everybody's doing now in Florida and Texas, along the border in Texas, won every single community. I won every single community. Governor of Texas called. Great gentleman, just got reelected. And he said to me, I'd like to talk to you for a second. Well, he said, you've done something that nobody else has done. You've won every single area along the borders, the longest since Reconstruction. I said, Reconstruction? I guess you call that the Civil War? That's what I call it? That's what I call it. Governor Abbott, very good man, and he's working hard, but it's horrible because what's happening is they're just sending hundreds of thousands of people right through his state, right through Arizona, right through all of the states. What's happening is they're coming up all of the states. And we can't have it anymore. This campaign will be about issues, vision, and success, and we will not stop. We will not quit until we've achieved the highest goals and made our country greater than it has ever been before, and we can do that. We can do it. Our victory will be built upon big ideas, bold ambitions, and daring dreams for America's future. We need daring dreams. It is not enough merely to complain or oppose. We don't want to be critics. We don't want to be complainers. I never wanted to be a critic. I never respected critics. They tell people what's wrong, but they can't do it themselves. We will win because we will fight with every measure of our strength and with every ounce of our energy to lift up the working men and working women of America and to restore the fabric of this nation. The radical left Democrats have embraced an extreme ideology of government domination and control. Our approach is the opposite, one based on freedom, values, individual responsibility, and just plain common sense. It's common sense. In 2 years, the Biden administration has destroyed the U.S. economy, just destroyed it. With victory, we will again build the greatest economy ever. It will take place quickly. We will build the greatest economy ever. And if you remember, I did it twice. I did it before COVID and then handed off something where the stock market was higher than just prior to COVID coming in. And we did it twice, and we will do it again, but this time we'll do it bigger, stronger, better than anybody can even imagine. And one of the beautiful things of the pause, if there is such a thing as a beautiful thing, but one of the important factors of the pause is that we see how bad they've done. So we will be able to do it properly, and it will be much easier. Everybody will agree with us because everybody. You know that? You don't want to really zero. But we were at 0. We actually got it to exactly 1%, the perfect number. One thing every economist agrees. 1%. Don't have it 0. Have it like at 1%. They even say 1 to 2. And we had it at 1 to 1. And we had it at 1%, and we had it there for a long period of time. And we had the value of the dollar. We had it so that this country could make a lot of money. And I fought other countries where they devalued their dollar, they devalued their currency, whether it was the pound or whether it was the yuan or the yen. And I used to fight with the leaders of like cats and dogs with the leaders of other countries because they were stealing from us when they did that artificial devaluations of their currency. It's a very important thing. I haven't even heard it mentioned in 2 years. It's a very important thing. It's very hard for us to compete when they do that artificially. And they had to pay a big price when they did it. And they never really did it for very long. I said, we're not going to do business with you anymore as a country. And they believed me. and they let it go back up. Instead of putting America last, as the Biden administration has done very, very openly and bravely, because I can't imagine saying, let's put America last. We will again put America first. Do that artificially. And they had to pay a big price when they did it. And they never really did it for very long. I said, we're not going to do business with you anymore as a country. And they believed me. And they let it go back up. Instead of putting America last, as the Biden administration has done very, very openly and bravely, because I can't imagine saying, let's put America last. I think it takes courage. We will again put America first. Every policy. Thank you very much. We do love our country, isn't it? And that's why we're here. I didn't need this. I had a very nice, easy life. This is something I didn't need, and a lot of you people don't need either, but we love our country. We have to take care of our country. We have to save our country. Every policy must be geared toward that which supports the American worker, the American family, and businesses, both large and small, and allows our country to compete with other nations on a very level playing field, which we never had until I came along and the Trump administration came along. And now we're losing it. They're moving back into China. They're moving back into these other countries. It's horrible. That means low taxes, low regulations, and fair trade, much of which I've already completed, but now will even greatly enhance. Other countries should pay for the privilege of coming into the American marketplace. They have to pay to come into our country and make all of that money, take it away from us. And thanks to the Trump administration, still the best and the biggest country in the world is what we have. We have the best and the biggest. If you remember, for many years, you can look in your projection books, China was going to take over from us as the largest economy in the world in 2018 or 2019. I said, I don't like that timing. And I was with President Xi, who's now president for life. I call him king. He said, no, I'm not the king. I said, yes, you are the king. You're president for life. It's the same thing. But I said, President, you can't do these things. You can't. Remember, they had China 25. That means China was going to take over virtually the whole world economy by 25. I said, that's not a nice sign. I don't want that sign. They took it down. They took down the whole slogan. Probably will be coming back at some point in the near future. But I found it very insulting. I said, I find that very insulting. On day one, we will end Joe Biden's war on American energy. And you will see, when that happens, you will see energy costs come down. And because energy is so big and so important, you will see inflation dropping. You will see it come down. It's a thing of beauty. And you wouldn't think it's that complicated. Now, what has been complicated a little bit is what's happened to so many other things. I believe originally started by this energy disaster. We were $1.87 a gallon for gasoline, and now it's hitting $5, $6, $7, and even $8, and it's going to go really bad. The socialist disaster known as the Green New Deal, which is destroying our country, and the many crippling regulations that it has spawned, will be immediately terminated so that our country can again breathe and grow and thrive like it should. It's very, very much hurting our country. Germany tried it, Germany tried it. They were up for about a year. Remember I sent to Angela. Remember Angela? Do you remember Angela? Nobody's remembering her now. Angela Merkel, I sent her a white flag of surrender. She said, but why do you send this to me, Donald? I said, Angela, I send it to you because this is a flag of surrender. You are getting 78% of your energy from Russia. And when that happens, history has proven that it's not good for Germany. Just take a look over the last 150 years. It hasn't been good. What I didn't know would take place so fast. And Germany closed, as you know, all of its coal-powered plants and its nuclear plants. They closed everything, and now they're building coal plants, and they're building them fast. And China's building a coal plant every week. Every week they open up another, and then they talk about all of the things that they do environmentally. They are watching us die with the Green New Deal, with our windmills and with our solar that doesn't have the power to fire up our great factories and our great plants. They are watching us die, and they're laughing as it happens. Remember, economic security is national security, and that's what it is. We need economic security. That is why we will launch an all-out campaign to eliminate America's dependence on China. We will bring our supply chains, which are a disaster right now. You can't get anything, and good luck getting a turkey for Thanksgiving. Number one, you won't get it, and if you do, you're going to pay 3 to 4 times more than you paid last year. But we will bring our supply chains and manufacturing base back home, as we were strongly doing during the Trump administration, and we will systematically bring back wealth, health, and success to the American middle class and to America itself. Please. Yeah, please sit down. I feel so guilty having you stand. No. No, you've been standing for the whole event. I feel very guilty. I don't want that to happen. To every worker and family struggling to survive in the Biden economy with inflation destroying your family and your life, this campaign will be for you. Help is on the way. Joe Biden has abolished America's borders. We are going to restore and secure America's borders just like we had them before, best ever. We built the wall, and now we will add to it. Now, we built the wall, we completed the wall, and then we said, let's do more, and we did a lot more. And as we were doing it, we had an election that came up, and when they came in, they had 3 more weeks to complete the additions to the wall, which would have been great, and they said, no, we're not going to do that. And that's when I realized that they actually want to have this disaster known as open borders. Hard to believe, isn't it? But one of the reasons we had so much success at the border was because of the fact that 2 things. We got Mexico to give us free of charge 28,000 soldiers. That helps. And President of Mexico is a great gentleman, by the way. Socialist, but that's okay. He can't have everything. But he's a great man and a great friend of mine. But 28,000 soldiers while we were building the wall. And then when the wall was finished, that's how we set all these records. We have records that nobody can even compete with. Right now, it's a disaster. I believe it's 10 million people coming in, not 3 or 4 million people. They're pouring into our country. We have no idea who they are and where they come from. We have no idea what's happening to our country. We're being poisoned. Within moments of my inauguration, catch and release will be gone forever. Remain in Mexico. Remain in Mexico, which was so important. Everybody came in here, they remained here, and they never left. And you couldn't get them, you couldn't find them. I had a policy, remain in Mexico. And if you think it was easy for me to get the president of Mexico to agree to that, it wasn't. But we got it. And they terminated it, can you believe? So now they come in here, they stay, and we have no idea where they are. They get lost. And it's very dangerous for our country. And again, I'll say, we're going to pay a big price someday for what they're doing. We will begin the process of safely removing the illegal alien criminals that have been unlawfully allowed into our country. We have no choice. We have no choice. And in restoring border security, we will stop the flow of deadly drugs and horrible human trafficking, which both have been set upon us like never before. The human trafficking, you think of it as an ancient thing. It's not ancient. Because of the internet, human trafficking is worse than it's ever been in history. And we stop them at the southern border, which is the #1 port all over the world, the southern border. So much comes through the southern border. #1 port, and we stopped them, and now it's at levels that are many, many, many times what it was just 2 years ago. Biden and the radical left had let loose on this total breakdown of law and order. It was a total breakdown of law and order. I will restore public safety in American cities and other communities that need our help. And if they don't want our help, we're going to insist that they take our help this time. Because, you know, the Democrat governors, these are all Democrat cities. The governors and mayors are supposed to ask for the help, and they would never ask for the help. And yet people are being shot and killed at random like nobody's ever seen before. And we sent in the National Guard in Minneapolis and in other places. In Seattle we went, and we were getting ready to go, and they took over part of the city. And the governors, the Democrats don't want to ever ask to do anything because they don't want to shake things up. In the meantime, the cities are rotting, and they are indeed cesspools of blood. So we're going to go and help them even if they don't want the help. We will give our police back their authority, resources, power, legal protection, and we will give them back their respect. They're great people. And I will immediately launch a no-holds-barred national campaign to dismantle the gangs and clean out the nests of organized street crime. You know, the worst criminals, the worst gangs are MS-13. And under the Barack Hussein Obama administration, they were unable to take them out because their countries where they came from wouldn't take them. And I learned about that in my first day, I actually say. But I learned about it, and I said, which countries? And it was Honduras and Guatemala. It was El Salvador, some others. And I said, how much do we pay them? Sir, you pay them $750 million a year. That's a lot of money. I said, all right, stop payment. We're not paying them anymore because they wouldn't accept them. They would put planes on the runway. So when our plane would come out with these gang members from MS-13, the plane couldn't land because other planes were on the runway. The buses weren't allowed to get through their borders because they had stronger borders than we did by far. They had borders. We don't have borders. They had borders. Other countries that we defend have borders. We defend other countries' borders, but we don't defend our own. But these countries, and I got to know all of the presidents and prime ministers. I got to know them all. And I said, all right, stop payment of the $750 million a year. They won't take them. And you could not get anybody back in because they sent them out. They didn't just come out. They sent them out. They don't want the bad ones. They want to keep their good ones. They don't want the bad ones. These are gang members that will kill, and they like using knives because a knife is more painful than a gun. You've read the stories. MS-13. These are savages. They say, oh, please don't use that name. They're people. No, they're not. These are savages. And so we went along, and I said, stop payment of the $750 million. And I get a call the next morning from the presidents of every country that we're talking about. Sir, there seems to be a misunderstanding. What's the problem? Is there anything we can do? Yeah, you're not taking your MS-13 gang members back that you sent to us. In the caravans, I love the name. I came up with it. I love the name. The caravans, thousands and thousands of people. And in those caravans, you have some rough people. I said, you're not taking them back. Well, we didn't know that this was a problem, sir. Is there anything we could do? I said, yeah, take them back. We would be glad to take them back, sir. They took them back. I still didn't give them the 750, but that's okay. And by the way, now Biden wants to give them $4 billion. They were happy with 750, and now they want to give them $4 billion. Somebody someday is going to explain that one to me. It actually makes you rage with anger when you hear that. They wanted 750 so badly, and now they're getting $4 billion. We will wage war upon the cartels and stop the fentanyl and deadly drugs from killing 200,000 Americans per year. And I will ask Congress for legislation ensuring that drug dealers and human traffickers, these are terrible, terrible, horrible people who are responsible for death, carnage, and crime all over our country. Every drug dealer during his or her life on average will kill 500 people with the drugs they sell, not to mention the destruction of families. But we're going to be asking everyone who sells drugs, gets caught selling drugs, to receive the death penalty for their heinous acts, because it's the only way. We don't need any more blue ribbon committees. We don't need, I don't like to say this, and I don't even know if the American public is ready for it. And a lot of my people say, please don't say that, sir. That's not nice. They kill 500 people each on average. And if you don't do this, in China, when I was with President Xi, I said, President, do you have a drug problem? No, 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 we don't. He looked at me like I didn't know what I was doing. He said, no, we don't have a drug. How come you don't have a drug problem? He said, quick trial. What is a quick trial? I sort of knew. What is a quick trial? That's where if you get caught dealing drugs, you have an immediate and quick trial, and by the end of the day, you're executed. That's a terrible thing. But they have no drug problem. The only drug problem they have is they make the fentanyl that comes into our country, and I had him stopping it. And then when I was gone, nobody ever mentioned it to him again. We were stopping it. That was way down, that number, but they send it in. But they don't have a drug problem. Other countries like Singapore has no drug problem, no drug. You ask them, they don't even know what you're talking about when they say drug problem. They don't even know what you're talking about. They have no drug problem. Now, why should they sell there and risk their lives every time they sell when they can come to the United States and nobody even cares? They can do whatever they want to do and become rich. It's a disgrace. So if you want to get rid of that and also bring down your level of crime, probably 75 or 80%, that's the only answer. No more blue ribbon. I refuse to create them anymore. They were just a joke. It was New York people wanting to be on a committee for publicity reasons. No more blue ribbon committees. That's the only way you're going to solve the problem. And I hope politicians are listening because they should do it quickly. Joe Biden has also proven that he is committed to indoctrinating our children, even using the Department of Justice against parents who object. It's a terrible thing. It's so sad what's happening. When I'm in the White House, our schools will cease pushing critical race theory as they were. Radical civics and gender insanity, or if they do that, they will lose all federal funding, but we'll get them to stop. And I will be the president who finally fixes education in America. We were doing great. We were starting to really get it right. We will not let men, as an example, participate in women's sports. Is that okay? No men. No men. My people tell me, sir, that's politically incorrect to say. I said, that's okay, I'll say it anyway, if you don't mind. We've had tremendous problems, and you know, it's very unfair to women, just very, very unfair. We will defend the rights of parents, and we will defend the family as the center of American life. But who would think, standing up here 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that a politician, and I don't like to think of myself as a politician, but I guess that's what I am. I hate that thought. But that a politician would be up saying, we will defend parental rights. Of course you're going to defend it. Who would think that we even have to mention this? Who would think it even should be a subject to be talked about? We have to defend parental rights. Can you believe this? As Commander-in-Chief, I will get Biden's radical left ideology out of our military, and I did. And in the first day, they put it back. They signed an executive order, and they put it back. It was gone. We will abolish every Biden COVID mandate and rehire every patriot who was fired from our military with an apology and full back pay. Thank you. And they deserve an apology, and they deserve full back pay, and they'll get it. And unlike Biden possibly getting us into World War III, which can seriously happen, I will keep America out of foolish and unnecessary foreign wars, just as I did for 4 straight years. We will again have peace through strength. That's all it is. As events overseas have shown, To protect our people from the unthinkable threat of nuclear weapons and hypersonic missiles, the United States must also build a state-of-the-art next-generation missile defense shield. We need it. The power of these missiles and the power of a word that I refuse to say, nuclear. We have to have it. We need a defense shield. And we have to do it. And we actually have the technology, and we're going to build it. Just as I rebuilt our military, I will get this done. I rebuilt our entire military, which nobody talks about. When I got there, we had jet fighters that were 48 years old. We had bombers that were 60 years old. We had bombers where their grandfathers flew them when they were new. And now the grandchild is flying the bomber, but not anymore. But as I have said before, the gravest threats to our civilization are not from abroad, but from within. None is greater than the weaponization of the justice system, the FBI and the DOJ. We must conduct a top-to-bottom overhaul to clean out the festering rot and corruption of Washington, D.C. Thank you. And I'm a victim, I will tell you. I'm a victim. Think of it. The FBI offered $1 million to Christopher Steele, who wrote the fake dossier, if he will lie and say that the fake dossier was true. And he refused to do it, so it had to be really fake. And then they hired somebody, Demchenko, for $200,000 a year to focus on Trump and to get Trump and other things, including the raid of a very beautiful house that sits right here. The raid of Mar-a-Lago, think of it. And I say, why didn't you raid Bush's place? Why didn't you raid Clinton? 32,000 emails. Why didn't you raid Clinton's place? Why didn't you do Obama, who took a lot of things with him? We will dismantle the deep state and restore government by the people. To further drain the swamp, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. It's time. It's time. And I will ask for a permanent ban on taxpayer funding of campaigns, a lifetime ban on lobbying by former members of Congress and cabinet members. No, I see what they make. They leave the White House or they leave Congress and they're paid millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. No, you have to have a ban. We want a ban on members of Congress getting rich by trading stocks with insider information. And many of our great members agree with that. They actually agree with that. And of course, we will do whatever it takes to bring back honesty, confidence, and trust in our elections. To eliminate cheating, I will immediately demand voter ID, same-day voting, and only paper ballots. Only paper ballots. France just had an election, 36 million people voted. It was all done by 10 o'clock in the evening, no complaints. You had a winner, you had a loser. The loser went home. The winner, he's a friend of mine, nice guy. But he was happy, but there was no complaints. And if there is a complaint, you check it out and you can fix it very easily. You can find out what's going on. No, paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID. So simple. And we want all votes counted by election night. They spend all of the money for machines and all of this stuff, and they end up 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. By that time, everyone forgot there was even an election. It's horrible. And this doesn't happen. I said it before. It doesn't happen in third world countries. They do better than we do. It's horrible what's happening with our election and election process. And I'll get that job done. That's a very personal job for me. I take that very personally. But this is just the beginning of our national greatness agenda, and that's what we call it, a national greatness agenda, because our country can be greater than it ever was. Our country was great. Our country's not great anymore. Our country's a laughingstock right now. But our country can be greater than it ever was before, by a lot. There will be more, much more to come in the months ahead. There are so many things we can do. Many of them are not even hard to implement. The journey ahead of us will not be easy. Anyone who truly seeks to take on this rigged and corrupt system will be faced with a storm of fire that only a few could understand, right? I happen to have some children in the front row. They understand. In fact, my one boy, stand up, Eric. I think he got more subpoenas than any man in the history of our country. So unfair. Al Capone, you all heard of the great gangster? Al Capone got far less. Billy the Kid got almost none. Jesse James, no. Eric Trump got more subpoenas. He's a PhD in subpoenas. They come from Congress. And I appreciate the job you do and the abuse that you've taken. I really do. And it hasn't been a joyride for our great First Lady either. It hasn't been a joyride. Stand up, honey. I go home and she says, they do love her. I go home and she says, you look angry and upset. I say, just leave me alone. Hasn't been the easiest thing, but she's been a great First Lady and people love her. We will be resisted by the combined forces of the establishment, the media, the special interests, the globalists, the Marxist radicals, the woke corporations, the weaponized power of the federal government, the colossal political machines, the tidal wave of dark money, and the most dangerous domestic censorship system ever created by man or woman, the most dangerous system we've ever had. We will be attacked, we will be slandered, we will be persecuted just as I have been. I mean, I have been, but many people in this room have been. But we will not be intimidated. We will persevere. We will stand tall in the storm. We will march forward into the torrent. And we, in the end, will win. Our country will win. We will win. My fellow Americans, we will join together and reverse this staggering American decline, and it is staggering indeed, and we will again restore the spirit of our nation. And then we must build and raise up a legacy that will stand without equal in the entire history of the world. With your help, we will create communities where our children will grow up safe and strong, and a nation where they will grow up free, prosperous, and well. We will reestablish the principles of hard work and merit and end the scourge of homelessness that is plaguing our beleaguered Democrat-run cities. We will heal our divisions and bring our people back together through incredible success. We will defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We will expand the frontiers of human knowledge and extend the horizons of human achievement. And we will plant our beautiful American flag very soon on the surface of Mars, which I got started. But we need everyone involved. We need everyone's help. We need to look out for one another. We need to be friends. And we need every patriot on board. Because this is not just a campaign. This is a quest to save our country. Talking about saving our country. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am asking for your vote. I am asking for your support. And I am asking for your friendship and your prayers of this very incredible but dangerous journey. If our movement remains united and confident, then we will shatter the forces of tyranny and we will unleash the glories of liberty for ourselves and for our children and for generations yet to come. America's golden age is just ahead, and together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America glorious again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you.
Un gran discurso, un discurso en el cual él busca que se reviva ese movimiento, y el movimiento está más vivo que nunca, el movimiento de un cambio. Y el día de hoy, esta noche, el presidente Donald Trump hizo una lista de todo lo que él va a hacer y habló algo muy claro. Dijo que no vamos a ser únicamente los críticos, no vamos a criticar únicamente lo mal que han hecho las cosas los demócratas, sino que vamos a ofrecer soluciones. Y eso es precisamente lo que les faltó a muchos republicanos. Es más, esa posiblemente sea una de las razones por la cual no hubo esa oleada en las elecciones del 2022, porque los republicanos denunciaron los fallos que dieron, las políticas fallidas que han impuesto los demócratas, los errores que han impuesto los demócratas, pero no ofrecieron muchas soluciones. Por lo menos el pueblo, la gente que vota, no recibió esos anuncios. Y el presidente Donald Trump hoy habla de todas esas promesas que él está haciendo. Y recuerde, Donald Trump es uno de los pocos presidentes que ha cumplido